Hey, folks, welcome back to another episode of the McKinney Podcast, where we celebrate what makes us unique by nature. Fred, we've made it to the last episode of this recording block.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you know what? It was 99 degrees when we walked in. It'll still be 99 degrees when we walk out because we are deep in the heat of Texas July summer.
Yeah, and we've been indoors where it's been 68 to 72
That's
the whole
right.
time.
We have no
God bless you,
concept
technology.
of what's going on out there.
You know, this is an interesting episode in light of what has gone about just in the last few weeks here in Texas with certain bills that were passed and then vetoed or refused to sign. I forget exactly what. I think Governor Abbott brought everybody back in a special session and said, hold on, no, we're not going to do that, which I'm sure the two of you were very, very interested in because it's literally your livelihoods, your business wouldn't have been able to operate had that gone through, right? Because there was all kinds of...
Yeah, we were prepared to close.
You guys were prepared to close, which, golly, you as a local private small business owner, you should never be in a situation where the legislature of your state prevents you from running a business and having your livelihood, a legitimate, lawful business.
Yes,
so
let's qualify that.
I'm kind of burying the lead. Say, man, I deal cocaine on the corner. Right. I don't know why the government says I can't do that, or whatever it happens to be. Right. So, yeah. I don't know why I always start talking like I'm from some uneducated part of town when that stuff comes in. I don't.
Because we grew up on those movies and that's the way it's always been portrayed.
It's a good icebreaker.
Yeah, this is where my wife rolls her eyes at me. So I'm burying the lead a little bit because we are privileged to have in our studio today Kelly Turns and Tammy Kleis from Botanic Life. USA.com or whatever it is. Botanic Life, is that your website?
BotanicLifeUSA.com.
Okay, there we go. I knew it was stuck in my head somewhere. That's Sorry. Right. So Botanic Life is on 380 in front of Costco, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just kind of like pulling the sign out of my memory banks there. Cool. So like we do with every episode, we'd love to have both of you guys start with the backstory. How'd you get to this chapter in your life? Tammy, Kelly, whoever wants to go first can go first. And
so I moved to McKinney about 19 years ago, and historically, pharmaceuticals has been my way of life.
Really?
Yes. So I've been in pharmaceuticals.
So you literally went from one side of the coin to the other.
And I'm actually still playing both sides of the coin, actually. I still am Eastern to Western and everything in between. I have been most recently working in the Parkinson's space, which interestingly enough is caused by toxin exposure. So God really wants me into toxins and detoxing and natural health, et cetera, et cetera. So I really feel very comfortable in my place and where all this plays out. I am now going to be moving into ALS in pharmaceuticals. I had lost my job earlier this year and just started with a new company in ALS. So specialty movement disorders. But again, I personally started a natural health journey about 15 years ago. It was 13 years ago. I was 45, chronic fatigue. I was on about 7 or 8 medications and couldn't figure out what happened and how I got here. And a friend of a friend directed me to a doctor of osteopath, which DOs are a little bit more knowledgeable, if you will, than MD in that they have had extra training to find root causes of problems, not just treat the symptoms like traditional Western medicine. So I went to a DO and we started doing some basic tests to look at some things, and my natural health journey started there, and I've been able to sort of unwind a few things that were happening. I was able to get off of a couple of medications, and one of those things was using CBD to get off of anxiety medications and sleep medications, which those are pretty, like you said.
I'm on both of those.
Yeah, right.
Currently.
I mean, it's been a journey for me. And interestingly enough, Tammy and we laugh because we're not really able to identify, I don't think, the specific first time we actually met either casually or in passing, because we would overlap in community service events or school PTA or school athletics, both of our kids went to McKinney North. I think the one in-person meeting we remember most early on was I bought tickets from her, concert tickets in the Office Depot parking lot.
Yeah.
So you're doing deals in the
Right,
parking
we're
lot.
doing deals in the parking lot of
before we were
Office
in deals.
Depot
Right.
before we even got the week business.
Blondie, you want some tickets? I got something.
It's so funny because, and again, our paths kept crossing. God kept putting each other in each other's path. And when an opportunity for me presented, I had been helping pain doctors at the time. I was in the pain world, helping some of their patients get off of pain medications or reduce the pain medication load, go down on dosing because the CBD might help them. So I was kind of helping. They knew I was on a natural journey with CBD, so they were kind of picking my brain about that and trying to help their patients. And of course, also the state was putting them under the gun and tracking patients, making sure you're not going to multiple doctors to get multiple medications so that you're not having addiction problems and possibly then turning around selling them on the street or whatnot. So it was kind of a synergistic situation that happened. And I said, hey, I come from pharmaceutical background. I knew that Tammy had a great background in physical therapy and chiropractic practices. And I said, can we have lunch? I'd love to pick your brain on something. And we went to Lupi Tortilla and I said, I feel called that I want to help people in a more formal capacity, possibly a storefront in this naturopathic world. And of course, my first was CBD products, but we have expanded into, probiotics and a variety of other things. But she said, you know what? I think it's a great idea and I'd love to join you. I think we could do it together. And that was 3 years ago. And we started
almost 4 years ago.
Almost 4. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Literally right after COVID hit.
Tammy, I want to get your backstory, your intro, because I have so many questions that I want to get out there. This is a topic that I feel very, very strongly on just because I've been around medicine my whole life and I've seen up close and personal what opioid abuse and opioid dependency looks like, what it looks like for chronic pain management and whatnot. So I'm saving all of those questions for after we get the backstory and the intros done. But this may be more James questions than Fred questions in this episode, just because I've done so much research on this world. I honestly can't wait to talk with you guys about it. Tammy, I'd love to hear your backstory, how you got to this current chapter, lead up to, when, almost 4 years ago when that started to happen.
When you're selling tickets to concerts in the parking lot.
Which concert was it for?
I don't even remember.
I don't even know.
I was trying to remember on the drive over here because we were just laughing about that the other day, and I don't even remember. It was 80s rock somewhere, I'm sure.
Oh, most definitely.
Do you often hawk tickets in the parking lot?
No.
Okay. All right.
And when I listed them, I believe I listed them on, I don't even know if Facebook Marketplace was a thing back then. But
It's probably
I listed
Craigslist.
them on, maybe, it might have been Craigslist.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the day.
That's right.
Well, and ironically, I think what it was is we actually, when we moved here, my husband and I moved here in 2011. Or no, when did we move here? Yeah, 2011. So we moved here 2011. And ironically, we actually lived in the same neighborhood, but we didn't know it. We both lived in Craig Ranch, which is a little area in McKinney. And I'm sure our paths somewhere crossed down the line. But I believe that's where it was. I listed them on a Craig Ranch family page, 2 tickets. And it was somewhere like Home Depot or the Target, somewhere right around there. And I just kept running into her. That's one of the things. I kept running into this girl named Kelly. And our kids knew each other from school. And so, like she said, she was working in pain management at the time. And that's actually where I remember seeing her the most is I was seeing a pain management doctor for my issues I was having. I was on opiates. I was on Flexeril. I was on sleep medication. And I'm waiting for my appointment. And in walks Kelly. And I was like, what in the world are you doing here? And she says, what are you doing here? And I'm like, I'm seeing my doctor. And she says, oh, I won't say which doctor it is. But,
That's right.
she was like, well, he's one of the docs that I see. And I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be a good story when I get back to the doc. Because we had a good relationship. And when we got back there, the doc was like, how do you know Kelly? And I was like, it's a long story. He's like, she's a little crazy. And I said, she is a little crazy. I said, but she's very passionate about what she does. I said, and, I like her for that. But fast forward, she was saying, when we met up for lunch, it was a true calling when she called me and said, hey, let's meet, let's talk about this. So when we met up, I was like, this is something definitely I want to do, because that pain management doctor at the time was saying, with all the new rules and regulations with meds, that he wasn't going to be able to prescribe me any medication anymore without doing another procedure. And he goes, if we don't do another surgery, and I had a neck fusion, I had TOS surgery. He goes, if we don't do another surgery, I'm not going to be able to keep prescribing you meds. And that was like a wake-up calling going, well, what other surgery would I need to be able to solve the problem?
Well, we have a menu here you can pick from.
Right?
Exactly.
I was like, come on, man.
And, he was
is that not a good piece of evidence that the system is broken?
Is that like the 2-drink minimum of healthcare?
For real.
Exactly.
And he was like, we could do a spinal cord stimulator. And I was like, well, what is that involved? He goes, well, it's about the size of like a 9-volt battery. We make an incision, we implant it, we run these leads up your spine. And I was like, no.
Sorry, you lost me at implanting in my spine.
In my spine. And
exactly.
I said, no.
Cutting my
we
spine.
are not going to do this. And
so you're looking for new solutions at that point.
At that point, I'm like, I'm done. Like, we need to do something else. And so after being on opiates and all the other medication for almost 8 years, I weaned myself off within a couple weeks and started CBD and other natural products. And that's kind of how we just met up. And we were kind of like, I said, all right, this is perfect. Like, this is going to be a good marriage between us. Because she came up with the idea and the concept. I was like, I can get on board with this because I support it. She supported it. And
She was living it.
I was living it. So
Wow.
And, at this point, now I just take CBD products. I don't even take any Delta products. I was taking Delta products. If I have to take a medication for something, I'm real leery. Like, my husband will be like, oh, just take it. The doctor prescribed it. And I'm like, I just don't want to take it.
Yeah. And then no one asks the question. And yes, I know I'm just burying the lead and jumping all the way in. Who's paying the doctor to suggest it?
Right.
Right.
Where's the money going? Where is it coming from?
Mm-hmm.
Where's the incentive? Where's the bias in the medical advice?
And that's the hard place. I come from working in the pharmaceutical world for 21 years, that these doctors have been trained on what they've been trained on.
Yep.
And that the schools have been built by pharmaceutical companies.
Mm.
Yeah.
And there's a time and a place for all of that. But why in the world, yes, do we have to jump through other hoops to get to a plant out of the ground that can help this human not be addicted to medications and feel better?
I saw sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. And then I'll jump in.
I saw a meme. It's been several years ago now. And it was like, wouldn't it be nice if doctors had to wear jackets like NASCAR drivers so we could see who bought them?
That's right.
And it's like the Biomet School of Medicine. It's like the Stryker School of Osteo or Orthopedic Surgery or whatever. It's like, oh man, like now we're really meddling. The Pfizer School of Neurology.
Well, and it was when I was talking to your wife, Elizabeth, it was an awareness level that when I was talking to one of my pain doctors and I was on the CBD products and was learning so much, and I said, hey, have you ever learned about this endocannabinoid system in our bodies? Is this news to you? And he said, I've never seen that, and it's not in any of my medical journals or medical books.
Of course not.
And that's what was so hard for me, because I'm like, is the ear on my head and the nose on my face, it should be in your book at least a page somewhere that you would have an awareness of that. So it was a aha for me of what I'm doing, while is very important in some ways and meaningful and helping people in some ways, is harmful.
Yeah.
Because it's not the whole picture.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a little bit biased because my brother was a nurse for a long time in trauma and ER. He was one of the nurses that operated on the Dallas police officers that were shot on July 7th a few years ago. Like, he's all the way into the trauma and emergency side of things in years past. And now he's a family nurse practitioner, getting his trauma nurse practitioner certification and stuff. And he intends to be a functional medicine practitioner, and at some point in the next few years. And I'm just like, this is one end of the spectrum. My brother, who I just adore and have the most admiration for, who has been literally ground floor emergency room surgery. Like, he's been standing next to all of the craziest surgeries you can imagine, which absolutely have a place. Like, Western medicine is really good at some things. You know, the robotic technology, like the brain surgery stuff that, you know, some medical minds have come up with, absolutely has a place. I'm not saying anything negative in a general sense. But when it comes to certain things, negating the possible benefits of functional medicine, homeopathic, naturopathic, like, there's simply items on the menu, just like traditional Western medicine. And I think for us as a society, for us as let's be real, attorneys that are bought and paid for, that make the laws in this country, that make, you know, appointed bureaucrats that set policy at state and federal levels that say, you can't do that. I was like, well, why not? Because we said you can't. Well, why did you say you? Oh, that's right, because so-and-so company made a campaign contribution for $5 million. And so you're trying to protect their business interests because they told you to. I was like, I'm not saying this is or is not a good idea. I'm saying the individual medical practitioner, functional medicine, homeopathic, naturopathic, the chiropractor that has a bunch of extra letters after their name, like, let the individual citizen, the individual medical professional make that decision rather than some pharmaceutical company or some regulator or some legislator or some attorney somewhere that thinks they know what's good for everyone else. And so they tell all of us, millions of us, what we can and can't do with our bodies that our doctor said is a good idea. But, oh, we can't do it because the regulator said no.
Right.
And I think on the sort of flip side of that, and also part of this not knowing the whole picture, I think a lot of times legislation and politicians, et cetera, example, I think that we would agree, Tammy and I both, this Senate Bill 3 that came about is really a reaction to the vape shops were carrying products that were over the limit, that were hurting
that were
children,
marketed to children.
That were marketed to children that were ending up in the ER because they were getting the wrong product. And Tammy and I will also make a note of this. We don't carry vape, even though it is supposedly very profitable, because of our ethics. It is not healthy to vape anything.
Yeah.
We don't believe it.
No.
And so I think that the Senate Bill 3 was a reaction to, okay, we want to protect the children, which Tammy and I protect the children.
Well-intentioned.
We protect the children.
And I totally am right there with you.
But it was a response to, and I think an overreaction to that, and Abbott and any of the others that are in the discussion coming up on July 21st need to understand, those of us that are following the laws. Yeah. We have legal product that is at legal levels. We ID people that buy things. We don't allow children in our store without their parents. That we don't recommend things to patients and customers. We call them patients, but they're customers, clients, whatever you want to call them. But I mean, we care about the end result, and what's going to happen when they leave the store. We even had a child that we had one theft in our almost 4 years, and we found the kid through social media. And the parents brought him in, and we talked about it, and he was like, "I'm so sorry." We're like, "You now have 2 more moms, and now you've got 2 more moms loving you, protecting you, and here to help you." And
yeah, we weren't even upset about the product being taken. I was upset that I didn't know if this kid was going to eat all 25 of these edibles. Like, that was in the back of my head the whole night, going, "Gosh!" But within 2 hours of posting the videos on Facebook, one of the McKinney moms or something
messaged one of us, knew us, and messaged, said, "Hey, I got the mom." I said, "Well, we'll pull down the post." Pulled it down, and that's also sort of speaks to how Tammy and I think separately in our own universes, we're known as loving people, kids, community, doing the right thing, helping people.
Fred, you had a question somewhere, and I want to get that out before we continue.
Yeah, I did. Well, actually, it wasn't a question, but you kind of covered it. I just want to make sure that in our listening audience, they know that we are not anti professional medical staff.
Absolutely not.
Because, they are doing their level best to work within the bounds that they have, pledged themselves to. But at the same time, there are many things that can be done. Like, I grew up the son of, both my dad and mom were doctors. So while the other kids, they would tell me they felt poorly and their parents took them to the doctor. And anytime I felt poorly, I was always like, I don't feel well. And my dad would be like, all right, well, we'll monitor that. And I'm like, can I get some medicine? And the number of times my dad would say no. He would just say no. And I was like, what? So,
Right.
For me, I had this skewed perspective of what does it mean to go to the doctor? And even then, like, I don't remember, but maybe once or twice that my dad actually took me to a doctor versus wait it out or drink some water, lay down, here's some Tylenol.
And I think that's the variation and the differentiation that a lot of the average person in the world doesn't understand, is that an MD or DO or whatever letters they have behind their name, they only have what they know.
That's right.
And your dad and your parents probably, it sounds like, did a lot more self-study.
Oh, he was.
Yep.
Well,
You know what I mean? To understand
absolutely
more at the confines of what they were taught in school. And that's
Even when I came down with what everyone else had, all of my friends are on antibiotics, and I was like, well, can't you take me to the doctor and say antibiotic? And he was like, no, and I was like, why? And he told me, I remember this. I'm 4th or 5th grade. He said, because later in life you might need antibiotics, and I don't want you to develop a resistance to it. And I looked at him, was like, I won't resist. And he just, because I didn't know what that meant.
right.
But now, that I'm older, I'm like, yeah, because, every single time you take that, your body builds up a level of resistance to it. I understand it now. And don't you know, even though I'm not a doctor, even when our own kids were like, had the crud or the whatever, I was like, you know what, stay home from school. And I'm sure a lot of people thought I was a bad dad for that.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, that when Tammy and I spend so much time, it's funny, we worked in the store the first several months ourselves, staffing the store, and talking to customers was typically about a 45-minute to an hour conversation at minimum,
Sure. Mm-hmm.
because it's trying to explain and educate on what your body systems are doing and this is what a pharmaceutical does. It forces your body to do something, which typically, if I were to push you and I would physically show people that, what's going to happen? You're going to have a response to that, which is either falling backwards or falling down or whatever, which is the symptoms of whatever that is that the pharmaceutical is you're taking. And that was understanding that a natural plant or herb or whatever is going to be a little more conducive with your system. It's going to take longer.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be more patient, which nobody is.
That's right.
Right.
I want
people are
results
used to
now.
taking a pill, and within an hour, those symptoms go away.
Mm-hmm.
So when you take that out of reality, it's patience. And I mean, I have no patience. She has no patience. But when you're used to that mindset, you take a pill, and even like you were saying, you build up a tolerance. That's how a lot of the opiate addiction starts up, because you start getting a tolerance. And I noticed that with myself. I was taking a medication that wasn't touching anything anymore. Like, I was still having pain, and I'm like, God, I'm taking 3 hydrocodone a day, 3 Flexeril a day, and amitriptyline at night. Why am I still in pain? I shouldn't be in pain. And I just recently had to take Flexeril for something a couple weeks ago, and I took 1. That knocked me out. My body hasn't had it in so long. I'm like,
right.
How did I function so many years ago with 3 of these a day in my system and worked and had kids and did life, where I took 1 a couple weeks ago and I couldn't even move off the couch.
Yeah, that's interesting, because even, those are prescription grade things.
Yeah.
But I think about, for me, I had a, pretty substantial car accident. Not my fault, by the way, not my fault. But it led me down a path of taking multiple ibuprofen and Tylenol a day. And, the pain relief was there, but the pain would always come back. And, through chiropractic, I had a certain level of relief, but even then I was still on a daily regimen of this stuff. And then, I met my physical therapist, and what went from chiropractic twice a week, I haven't been to a chiropractor in, 4 or 5 years. And no need for any of those analgesics. But every so often, when the pain is really bad, a single ibuprofen. I'll take it for the relief, but it tears up my stomach. And from what I've read, apparently it's also pretty detrimental to the liver. So,
bad for liver.
I'm not speaking anything into existence, but I'm just thinking, man, I'm trading one thing for another, and just the how the body will no longer respond, because it used to be one, then it became two, then it became two and two, and I was just like, this is insane. I'm keeping a company in Mercedes Benzes by the big bottles that I'm buying here. So good for you for being able to get off that stuff. So let's turn to for our uninformed audience, or we kind of said it earlier, that we know what we know because of where we are in technology.
Yeah.
But as we progress, we learn more, which challenges the system, which is what I think we need to do. There are certain things, obviously, if I have a gaping wound, anesthesia and stitches or staples or glue, that's got to be closed up. We're not challenging stuff like that. But when it comes to treatment of things, we are learning more and more, and technology has allowed us to see further into the human body. CBD itself, we're not talking, and we said this earlier. Now I wanted to bring this in. When it comes to CBD, when that first came onto the scene a couple of years ago, the general thought was, oh my goodness, everybody's going to be Snoop Dogg or Willie Nelson, right?
Can I ask a preamble question to this? Because I knew we were going in this direction. I think before we answered that, because that's kind of a lengthy thing, I think it'd be really helpful for you guys in your own words to describe some of what is this and how are they different? Because there's basically three categories that I'm aware of. There is the actual derivatives of cannabis, the plant cannabis. Then there is the synthetic cannabis, so-called deltas, Delta 8, Delta 9, whatever. And then there's the cannabinoids, that's more like the CBD and whatnot, that are cousins to the cannabis plant, but not direct derivatives. Because I know a lot of it has to do with THC content, is where a lot of the regulatory stuff comes in. What's the percentage of, how many micrograms or whatever, THC being tetrahydrocannabinol, that the psychoactive substance that's found in the cannabis plant. That is the thing that so many people are concerned about, the whole high sensation and whatnot. Can you give us just some basic primers on the roadmap? What cannabis derivative product versus something of a cannabinoid that's CBD, that's not exactly cannabis, but it's like a first cousin to something that's going to get you high or whatever, versus the synthetic stuff? Because that's where my knowledge stops. I don't currently have any firsthand experience with any of that stuff. Let's keep the probiotics and the digestive support and all that stuff. That's a whole separate conversation. I think for the purposes of this conversation, limiting our talk to pain management, anxiety, depression, those things, that those three kind of categories of products are generally used for. Is that good guardrails for the rest of the conversation?
Sure.
Otherwise, we'd be here for 2 hours.
Yeah. And I think CBD, when the average person on the street hears the letters CBD, you're right. Any variation of thoughts can come through from, oh my God, weed. You sell weed, which people joke and say, oh, y'all are the weed dealers.
Yeah.
But CBD, from our perspective, there's what's called CBD isolate, which is just the CBD molecule itself. It's only isolated.
Is it derived from the hemp plant?
From the hemp plant.
Yeah. Which is a cousin of the cannabis plant.
Right, which is the cousin of the cannabis.
It's the good cousin.
It's the good cousin. It's the healthy
cousin.
cousin, if you will.
Yeah.
There's something called broad spectrum, which has CBD isolate, as well as all of the other cannabinoids or cannabidiols that are helpful, like CBG, CBN. There's hundreds of them, and we're learning more and more, like you said, every day about all of those. And then there is full spectrum. Full spectrum has THC in it, which we are allowed to have 0.3% or less in a broad spectrum product.
Which is a tiny amount.
It's a tiny amount.
Yeah.
The legal amount for medical in Texas is 1%, correct? So it's not much lower than that. So a lot of our patients, customers, clients are able to use Delta products or broad spectrum to help with some of the more severe pain, like Tammy talked about.
Yeah.
As opposed to having to go through getting an appointment, getting a script, and all of that with medical.
And I have 2 experiences with Delta 8, purely curiosity based, because it was probably 3-4 years ago, something like that. A friend was like, "Hey, a friend gave me some Delta 8. Like, do you want any of this to experience it?" Because I mean, I'm a curious person. Like, I'm not trying to get addicted to something, but yeah, I want to know what this is about. How does this make me feel categorically? And I did not like it at all. It was rough. It made me feel dizzy. Like my equilibrium was kind of shifted to the right. I felt like I couldn't walk straight when I was feeling the sensations of it. It's like, if this is what a Delta product is, I don't like Delta products. This does not make me feel good at all.
And that's funny because people assume that because we own a CBD quote store that we're both like pot smokers and we're like all of the things. And
you got a Willie Nelson tattoo on your arm?
I know. Neither one of us. I can't do THC either. I tried a gummy and at a girls' weekend, thankfully, and thank God we just sit around in our pajamas all weekend.
She texted me. She's like, "Oh my God, I'm levitating." I'm like,
I was like, I'm out of body experience. I can't make a complete sentence. I want nothing to do with this. And that was when we first started carrying it because I wanted to experience it to understand, yes, how to articulate. But Tammy is the Delta.
But Tammy,
educational expert.
Tammy also told her, start with a quarter. Don't take the whole gummy. Start with a quarter. If you don't really feel anything within an hour or 2 hours, take another quarter. Kind of microdosing because you're introducing something new to your body.
Yeah.
And it's different. Like if you have experienced pain before and you've done edibles or, you've even smoked weed. If that's your thing, then I'm going to tell you to take a higher dose. But she was kind of a newbie with it. So I said, just take a little bit. She took the whole thing. So...
Hence the levitating.
I don't always hear the whole part of it, yes, or in my haste, because like she said, we're both patience deficient. So I learned quickly that's not my wheelhouse. I stay with broad spectrum for my anxiety. I don't go into the THC or the Delta world because I don't need it.
Yeah.
Want it.
And we both do. Yeah, we both take the broad spectrum. I took the Delta products, but I actually had to quit Delta products last year. I had brain surgery in October of last year. And so I had to not take vitamins, probiotics, all the stuff that we carry and I take for 2 weeks. And I'm like, I'm not going to be able to function. And I did notice a huge difference when I did not have to take it. But I will say that I haven't taken any Delta products since my brain surgery. I haven't needed it. So I just stick with the broad spectrum, but we do tell clients, customers when they come in, why do they want to take it? Are they trying to replace an opiate? Are they trying to just have a good weekend? Some people don't want to drink, so they'll want to take a little bit of this to make them kind of feel better. So depending on what they're taking it for is kind of what I tell them how much to take.
Mm-hmm.
Tolerance is a big issue because her son thought he was a big guy.
Oh, yeah.
He thought it was weight-based.
My oldest, he's 6'4", 300-something pounds. He's a big dude. And he has his own business. He's working outside. And he was like, I'm just sore. I'm tired. I just want something to take the edge off. And I was like, well, just, take half. And he was like, Mom, I'm fine. Like, I'm huge. And I'm like, just take half.
Yeah, it's a common misconception.
30 minutes later, he's levitating.
I also had that same misconception.
Yeah. He took it. He took a whole thing, and he told me it took him like about 45 minutes to make a sandwich.
So there's a weight loss component to it.
No, because he ate the sandwich, but it just took longer to do it.
Yeah, it took longer to put it together.
The digestion, the metabolic processing is such an important thing based on delivery, whether it's a tincture or like an under the tongue with just a liquid delivery.
And everybody's different.
Yeah.
Which is why we don't sell vapes, because as we have seen, popcorn lung, all the things, we know smoking anything goes faster to your brain in a larger capacity, quantity.
Yeah. It's so easy to abuse.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
And inhaling flaming things is generally not good for the lungs.
Not. No.
Okay.
Yes.
That's unsolicited medical advice.
Exactly.
You do with that as you please.
And you see it in, like, I work at McKinney High full time. And you see it in the school system.
Mm-hmm.
You see kids getting in trouble for vapes at all the schools, even middle schools.
It's an absolute epidemic.
Mm-hmm. And it is. So
with kids,
law,
14, 15-year-olds.
Yeah, with that SB3 law, I get where they're coming from a child perspective. I understand that because I see it in a different manner. But like Kelly said, we have we're not a vape shop. We're not these traditional where you walk in, everything's under glass, and there's cameras everywhere. We do have cameras. We say you're on camera. We have a point of sale system where you have to scan your ID to even purchase a CBD product.
Nice.
If I purchase it, I got to scan my own ID. So our store is very safe. Like I said, the kids really don't come in our store. They go to other stores across the street
That are selling underage.
That do sell underage.
And should be shut down.
Do you want me to hidden camera them?
There's supposedly, rumor had it that there was a camera outside. I don't know who put the camera there. That I did not, but I had heard, and I was like, well, hopefully they'll shut them down for selling underage because it is going to hurt these kids. I mean,
I saw film where I saw a McKinney North student where both of our kids attended walk out with a McKinney North shirt and walk out with a brown bag. And I'm going, all right, I've been in the store because, before we even opened the store, of course, we were
consumer research.
Yeah,
right.
we're going around asking questions like, are you guys profitable? We're just asking a lot of things. And I kept seeing younger kids in there. And I'm going, wow, there shouldn't be any kind of kids in here.
Isn't this illegal?
At all.
Yeah, but maybe he was just buying a Grateful Dead T-shirt or a decal,
and a brown bag. Yes.
And that was the other thing too. When we were doing competitive shopping, what was also very, very disturbing was many of the CBD stores, quote, it was a range from a vape shop to more naturopath-ish, but very few of them understood that CBD products without THC are weight-based dosing. They did not know the dosing. They did not know the difference between isolate, broad spectrum, and full spectrum. They could not articulate about their product in a correctly, clinically, scientific, educational way, which was concerning.
Okay, so obviously you're doing your level best to make sure to give the best to the community. And I said this during the pre-show, which I don't know if it got recorded, but when it comes to these products, I'm just going to say it again, is that if you take something and you're compromising your morals, you're compromising your safety, you're compromising your integrity, I just want to say, those are things you probably shouldn't be involved in. And when it comes to other shops, we don't know how they run, but for you, how do you ensure that your products actually contain what they say they contain and aren't just, someone over there squeezing out some juice and then making it a gel and going, oh yeah, that's 0.03.
I mean, all our products do come with COAs. So those certificate of authenticities we have on file, we'll have them on display. So
they're on the website?
Yeah, they're on the website. So legally, you have to have those in store.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And everything's lab tested.
Yes.
Every batch is lab tested. It's all verified.
Because I just want to share, that I've never been.
Well, and that was the thing.
I've been in these stores before.
Somebody was asked.
I've been
Right?
in one once, but we weren't in town. We were actually traveling, and we had to get gas, and it was the gas station and CBD shop, and so I went in. I'm like, okay, Gatorade, get a Snickers bar. I put those down and I went over there. I was like, Elizabeth, I'll be with you in a minute. So I go over there and I'm talking to the person behind the counter, and she was saying the stuff that she had tried because she wanted to be able to speak intelligibly about these things. And she goes, and then there's this part right here. She goes, I'm not sure about this. I was like, what do you mean? She goes, well, I've heard mixed reviews on what this is. That's the first time I ever heard Delta anything. And she was like, yeah, one guy, he said that, he doesn't remember after the parking lot. And I was like, ooh, but you probably shouldn't be looking at these
that's a big
things
negative.
At the gas station. At the gas station, probably not the best thing.
I was going to say, I would venture to guess.
Yeah.
I'd be willing to put my bet big money. That
Not exactly the best quality controls.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But again, like the
I didn't know to look for
the
it.
news shows the news have done the stories on, walking in these warehouses of all these vape stores and whatnot, and their product, they supposedly had COA. So, I mean, we're always double checking, and we're doing background checks, and we always meet our vendors before we buy. We go to these shows, we require to meet the people. We do a lot of our own work. like Tammy said, sometimes, I mean, we're up at 5:30 and we're up till 11 doing either social media checks or we're doing background checks or we're.
Well, the states, and this is where I really meddle. I'm going to have to put a disclaimer on the front of this episode so the moms in the vehicles that listen to this show, because there are lots of, I get messages through my wife sometimes is like, I wish you wouldn't have said that. It's like, I apologize. I didn't mean to cause a problem, because sometimes kids be like, what's that? I was like, well, we want to keep the show family friendly. So I always, anytime there's an episode, was like, oh, yeah, there may be something that we end up talking about in this episode that parents probably want to have a disclaimer on. It's like, maybe don't listen to this one in the car with your 5-year-old, because they're going to have questions like, what's that? And maybe you don't want to answer the question of what that is yet. You want to wait a few years.
Right.
So I'm meddling, I should say. The states that have chosen to make the whole thing legal, and they place so many controls around it for quality standards, for consistent manufacturing, they have oversight, they have like hands-on, boots on the ground regulatory oversight going, hey, if you're going to make this, we as a state are going to make sure that you're making it correctly. You're making it in a safe way. In the same way that tobacco manufacturing is highly regulated, and quality control and quality assurance processes are very stringent. If Marlboro makes a pack of poison puffers, those poison puffers are very, very regulated. And it's disappointing for me that there's such a patchwork in all these states where you and I cross the border into Oklahoma and the whole thing is wide open, but it's so regulated at the point of manufacture that you don't really have to worry about what you're getting, because so many sets of eyes are on it before it's ever packaged and put to a retailer where someone can buy it. And then these states that have all these laws in place that some things are okay, some aren't. In this formulation, it's okay. In that formulation, it's not. It's like, can we not just make all of it legal and highly regulated and place controls and standards and take away these sidewalk drug dealers from having any economic incentive? Because the person can walk down the street, buy it from a legitimate store, and know there's manufacturing standards, there's quality control. It's not being laced with some unknown substance because it was made in someone's garage. Like, there's so many built-in risks when something is quasi-legal.
Yes.
And it's like, what's your take on all that?
And it's funny that you bring that up, because when we were in the last 3.5 years, we've gone through several credit card processing systems. There are a handful of credit card processors that will even work with us because we're considered high risk.
Yeah.
Our products are tested, like you said. They're lab tested to know what's in them, how they've been processed, what's in them. We cannot have metals in our product. We cannot have pesticides in our product.
Or lead.
But you know what? I can go down the
there.
street to any
vape
grocery
shop.
Grocery store.
Yeah.
Name a grocery store.
They all
I can
sell
walk
vape pens.
in. I can get an apple that has pesticide on the outside of it, but they're not considered high risk.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that? I'm high risk,
The
but
Apple
they're not.
lobby.
Right.
The Apple lobby.
So, I mean, I think it's also educational. It's also knowledge. If the states, if the politicians, governors, whoever in wherever state, whatever situation, knew the full picture and the full understanding, like you said, to actually adequately regulate, we would be.
And I am not in any way advocating for people to just go out and, have a bunch of edibles and be high all the time.
Nor are we.
I am 0% advocating for that. But if you let me choose between people being on chronic use of opioid painkillers and depression medication, sleep meds, like I'm personally on a formulation of escitalopram for anxiety and then trazodone for sleeping. If I don't take that stupid trazodone, I have a real hard time sleeping. And I feel perfectly fine. I'm not an anxious person by nature currently, but I'm medicated. If you give me the choice to not be on those drugs and instead have a small dose daily, or maybe once in the morning, once in the afternoon, of a natural product where I don't have to be taking daily pharmaceuticals. But I'm not even on pain management. The folks out there that are on hydrocodone or codeine or whatever it happens to be, it's like, well, even, with Fred and the ibuprofen, if you're taking ibuprofen every day, something's wrong.
Yes.
Like it should not be that way.
And something's wrong with your liver too.
You let me choose.
I don't receive it. I don't receive it.
And then that's another pill.
But I mean,
Yes,
if
that's
you
right.
if you have to choose between a prescription drug and a natural drug, why would you not choose the natural drug? And I know that I'm meddling when I say this, but just make it all legal and tax it like tobacco. Regulate it like tobacco, tax it like tobacco. There's not a stigma of someone who smokes an occasional cigar. There's a stigma for people that smoke cigarettes because you're an idiot if you smoke a cigarette. Because at this point, you can't deny that it's literally killing you. You're guaranteed to get lung cancer if you smoke enough of them. In 2025, if you smoke a cigarette, you're a moron.
And I said it too, if they were just make it legal and tax it like crazy, like some of the states do where THC, the weed, is legal, you can go in there and buy something for $10, but it's going to cost you $14.80 because you're going to have a state tax, you're going to have a regulatory tax, you're going to have all these
law
other
enforcement
taxes,
reimbursement tax.
everything.
Yeah.
And it's all been tested, like you said.
Yeah.
Or it's all been there's regulations in place to protect.
And I hesitate to ever use strong language like I just did in this podcast version of strong language. But those kind of tobacco decisions, like that, doesn't really translate because there's all kinds of social stereotypes and negativity around because so many people don't understand the difference between a hemp derivative and a cannabis derivative. They think that, oh, you are on CBD, you must be getting high. It's like, no, there's actually not really any high component to it. That's the THC that comes from cannabis.
We ran into that when we were actually trying to find a location for our store. It took us 6 months, which I thought was going to be the easiest thing, finding a location. After 6 months of shopping for a location, that was one of the biggest things. They're like, well, what is your business? It's like, well, it's going to be more of a holistic store that we're going to carry CBD products. We weren't even talking about Delta products at the time. And instantly they were like, no, sorry, no CBD.
I'm like, this is 2022? 21. I'm like,
yeah.
We're not in the 70s. Like this is, of course.
How'd you get around it?
We kept looking.
I was leaving work and I was on 380, I was leaving work and going to Hot Works, one of the new little workout things that opened up right over there.
Thing. Yes, right.
That's when they were building that cluster of buildings at the front of the Costco area.
Yep.
And I was driving and I was like, I'm trying to get a workout in before I was leaving for our anniversary trip. And I saw a guy outside of a Geico that's next door to First Watch Restaurant, and he was putting a for lease sign on. And I instantly called her and I'm like, where are you at? And she was like, oh, I'm at I don't know where she was, but she was probably like 25 minutes away. And I was like, listen, I need you to get over here, like real quick. There's a guy putting a for lease sign on. It's a hot location. It's 380. It's Hardin. Like, get yourself down here.
That is the hottest of locations.
Yeah. And I mean, she made it. And we were the first.
I was in the doctor's office leaving work.
You're in the same parking lot as the Costco.
I'm like,
Yes.
go
That's right.
now.
Well,
Like,
so on that note, we were first in line on his list to rent the spot and take over his lease to let him out of his lease.
It was a sublease?
Yeah,
You guys stole it.
we did.
Well,
Oh my
we didn't
gosh.
steal it. We are still paying through
But
the nose.
I mean,
But
compared
yes,
to what
yes,
that poor guy went through,
Yes.
you got it at a nice discount.
We could,
What,
yes.
probably 25, 30% off the street price.
Well, at
which is
least
what,
it
like
had-
$60 a foot?
I don't know. I forget the dollar
pretty
amount, but it was.
expensive.
I was going to say we are still drowning in rent
Yeah.
at year 4.
You
Because
guys are
we-
probably in the 40 plus triple net range.
Yeah,
Something like
I mean, let's just say our overhead cost per month, and grant you, we don't even pay ourselves.
We have not been paid in 4 years.
What?
No,
Yeah,
because we're still.
we take our money, invest it in the company, new products. We have a lot of.
You got a
products.
lot
Well,
of
we
inventory.
overinvested in space too because the space
Yes.
was prime. We also
yeah.
in the backside of the store, we have 2 rooms that we have rented at various times to massage therapy, stretch therapy, physical therapy, esthetician, whatnot, because we're paying for that space and not using it. The storefront is where we use. So we have these 2 other spaces, and now as of January, they were empty. We couldn't sign another lease with any new tenants because this law, SB3, that was under evaluation,
That closed.
we couldn't sign a lease to have anybody in the space because we didn't know if we were going to be open. So we had to wait till SB3 got vetoed. But now we're having to wait till the 21st till they have this meeting because we've heard rumors that they may charge us $10,000 or $20,000 a year.
It does say on there, like, if they do pass it, they may have a
Some sort of grandfathering.
$20,000 a year licensing fee if you're a retail center.
For what?
Which we can't afford.
Licensing what?
Just because?
Just to be able,
to be able to
sell
be a
the
CBD
product.
Just
store.
because.
So we didn't know.
The ignorance of these fools.
We're not going to be able to afford a $20,000 a year licensing fee.
How does the industry, and I'm sorry to interrupt here, but this just
That's
boggles my, how does the industry have a hard and fast separation from the vape shop? Because your shop
there's not
is so different from a vape shop. Because the vape is a different delivery of a nicotine and tobacco based product. It's like saying, oh, well, I sell produce at my store. Fred next door to me is a butcher shop
or whatever,
and sells steaks. I'm a farmer's market. Well, me and Fred are the same kind of business. We're going to be treated the same from a regulatory perspective. That's completely ridiculous.
Exactly.
I don't know how your lobby works with the people that like represent you guys in Austin. You got to get away from the dadgum vape shops.
Yeah.
Because those folks are toxic. Those are radioactive from an optics perspective, because every parent from here to Timbuktu hates vape shops. My kids aren't old enough to be even aware of that yet, but I promise you, when my kids are old enough to where that's a concern, oh man, I am their worst enemy. It's like, if you even smell like you're marketing to children, we will drop every hammer we have right on your face. But that's not you guys. You're not even remotely close to that kind of a business. It's like, Austin, you go right ahead and regulate the vape shops all you want. They're obviously less concerned about doing things the right way than homeopathic health food stores that have various kinds of products. I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but you guys are not vape shops.
No, within our store, we have a little corner with 5 shelves that literally just carry Delta 8, 9, 10, and then a Delta blend. That's all we have. And all we carry is edibles. Other than that, we have all our CBDs, we have our creams, our pain, we have tea, we have probiotics, we have everything else. So we are more like a health and nutrition store, but we also carry these products that are going to help you in this way.
Man.
And on that, you know, because we talked a lot about, you know, legislation, regulation, and just the pain side and the, you know, we're not a stoner deadhead shop. Someone who's looking for what? Why should they come into your store?
That's a great question to end on. Thank you.
They just want to find another solution, because typically I would say 95% of the people that walk in the store are like, I've got this issue. Whatever I've been doing isn't working, or I don't want to take a pharmaceutical, or I want to try to get off of a pharmaceutical. Oftentimes it's sleep, pain, stress, anxiety are the top questions. And like I said before, it's a 45-minute to an hour conversation, typically, because we're helping understand and finding out what's the root cause. Because I originally started taking CBD because of sleep. Well, come to find out, the CBD is helping my anxiety that helps my sleep. If I can treat the root problem, which was the anxiety. So I got off of 2 anxiety medications and a sleep medication. So people will come in for pain. Well, is it one place or your whole body? Is it both knees? Because that matters. Do you use a topical? Do you use internal? So it's not a simple, easy fix.
Yeah.
And and then, like I said, I mean, I handled my sleep problem, which also helped my anxiety problem. Well, then I went on to, you know, whatever the next problem was. So natural health, you'll find once you get one thing kind of going, then you can address the next. And that's how I got off of 4 5 medications.
Mhm.
I'm only on 2 now, and my thyroid medicine reduced because there's clearly been some healing that's happening in my thyroid.
Who knew?
How about that? So what you would say to somebody who, has seen your storefront, and, you can tell that it was a couple of years ago because now there's no driving on 380. 380 is actually a parking lot between us and Denton.
Especially between the hours of 3 and 7 p.m.
Yes. I mean, it's just a parking lot. So if someone is thinking, you know what, I'm anxious for, I just feel anxiety or I've got, I just don't sleep well at night, that they should plan an hour. It's not run in, grab a bag of Doritos and get out.
Right.
It's a come in and have
Which
a
I think is
conversation.
also helpful because people, we would, and I would think Tammy would agree with me, most of the times that you have that long conversation, there are a number of times where like, you know what, we don't want you to buy anything right now. You've taken a lot of pictures because everything in here is science also and clinical, and it's educational, and you've learned a lot. Go home and sleep on it. Think about it. Rabbit hole.
Hit up the Google and see what's going on.
Google, because I don't want anybody to people don't make impulse purchases on their health, and we don't want them to either.
Mm-hmm.
We want them to make the best decision with the most information possible to take the very first step. And natural health is 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. Like Tammy said, she, bless her heart, had brain surgery and then she had to have surgery again. I mean, it's figuring this out, going back, figuring it out. Okay, maybe something gets solved and then you go to the next thing. But we literally handhold and hug and nurture and walk with these people.
Okay, so just out of curiosity, someone, has a regular workout regimen and they're typically sore the next day. Are there things that they can just come in and you're like, this is what we recommend for
absolutely
sore muscle type stuff?
And that's an easy conversation.
Yeah.
Well, it's if it's like Flexerol. Yeah. Can I have some relief from my delayed onset muscle soreness or DOMS without feeling like I need to go take a nap as soon as I take something?
Exactly.
Yeah, something
Right.
something more effective than Bengay or BioFreeze, right?
We have natural versions of all of that.
Okay, all right.
I'd love a natural version of BioFreeze.
Right.
I was a trainer for a number of years. Oh, I love that BioFreeze. It's so good.
I know.
And the version that we have is actually one of our number 1 sellers. It is an amazing product.
Does it smell like menthol?
It is a very clean smell. It has lidocaine in it.
Okay.
So topically, it's going to numb that area. I do use it.
It's the one pharmaceutical in our store.
Does it have that epidermal muscular penetration where it gets past the first few centimeters?
It does.
Okay. Yeah, I need to come by there and grab a tube or two of that.
That DMSO level.
Yes, without the DMSO. Yes, and the cancer that comes with that.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that part.
Bro, yeah, DMSO is bad stuff.
Bad.
But when definitely people come in, they do find it very educational.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, we are no experts. We just take what has happened to us in the past, what we lived through, and then she takes a lot of her pharmaceutical experience. I take a lot of my chiropractic PT experience since I was in that field for 17 years, and it meshes well together.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't give medical advice, like you said. We want to work with your healthcare providers. We want you to work with your healthcare providers. This is what we've learned.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we know. We don't treat and cure. We help support certain systems, and we have pictures in the store. We have lots of signs in the store with lots of words, to help people understand.
So does that mean if I come into your shop, I can lay down on the table and you can adjust my back real quick?
Nope.
Nope.
We're trying to get a chiropractor in the space.
I can probably do it, but
but we do have the space in the store, which that's one of the practitioner types we've been trying to possibly bring in, because I think it would be so synergistic to have, because we've had, like I said, the stretch therapy and massage therapist that we've had in the store was a really synergistic relationship. But you're right. I mean, having the ability to, find solutions one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're at an hour and 3 minutes. I think it's probably a good place to stop. Is there anything we haven't touched on that you guys wanted to?
No, I think we touch base on a lot of stuff. We're definitely hopeful that SB3 law in a couple weeks when they have their session, that they come to a
Reasonable.
That doesn't involve a $20,000 tax.
Yeah, and doesn't involve us closing. I'd hate for, someone's version of how a Delta product associates with a child can close our store. Because
They've
we're
got
not
to
just Delta.
separate you guys from the vape shops.
Yeah.
They has to be considered different from a regulatory perspective. Otherwise, so many stores are going to get lumped in with a category that is simply not willing to police itself adequately.
Right.
Yeah. And there'll be a lot of people in the state of Texas. I think the last number I saw was like 66,000 people out of work. It's a $5 billion industry.
Mm-hmm.
So if Texas were to look at that and go, wow, it's a $5 billion industry, if we just tax it accordingly.
There was,
that's some good money.
And the thought of the patients in my mind. I mean, there was a patient apparently that when he heard about SB3 committed suicide, unfortunately, a veteran, because he knew that was the only thing that controls his PTSD and his pain and all of the issues he had. And he was terrified to have to go back to pharmaceuticals and addictive medications.
That breaks my heart.
I can't
I
sleep
can't even imagine.
at night thinking of these patients that aren't going to have a natural opportunity to help stay well or pain-free.
And that's a big part of your why.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now, let's hit him with the bear shark question, shall we?
All right. No wrong answer. No wrong answer. But who would win in a fight between a giant polar bear and a great white shark? They're in a body of water 6 feet deep of infinite dimensions. There's no side of the pool. There's no shoreline. There's no shallow. 6 feet deep of water. Great white shark, giant polar bear. Who wins?
Great white shark.
Great white shark. And for you?
I have no clue. Great white shark, because he's used to the water.
Okay. All right.
That's
And what's your reason, Tammy?
It's Shark Week next week.
Oh!
We are going to be that time of year, aren't we?
I was
So
born
there's
in
Shark
Florida,
Week
raised
bias.
in Florida. Yeah.
I was
Sharks
wondering
are
how
deadly.
tall the water is, because how tall is the polar bear? That
12
was
feet tall.
why
12
I
feet
was,
tall.
The polar bear is
okay.
12 feet tall, so he can touch the bottom easily.
Yeah, but the shark knows water better.
Yeah.
It's his home.
Fair.
You can drown him.
Fred and I don't try to sway people either way. No, we just, Fred's team shark, I'm team polar bear.
Interesting.
Years of living in Florida.
That's it.
And my
Respect
thing
the
is,
sharks.
right.
it's the biggest bear on planet Earth, and it has 4 sets of claws and 1 mouth.
Yeah, but
So-
he's in water. He's not used to being in water. And
You're-
I just
yeah.
actually came from Cozumel last weekend, just diving. So
That's why there's 2 great answers to the question.
Exactly.
And no wrong answer.
No, not at all.
says you.
Okay. So they are Botanic Life USA. They're found in that strip of shops right in front of Costco at the northeast corner of 380 and Hardin here in McKinney. Kelly Turns, Tammy Kleis, thanks so much for being here. Folks, this has been another episode of the McKinney Podcast, where we celebrate what makes us unique by nature. We'll catch you next time, folks. Y'all take care.